I have a million something likes on my Facebook page. It's absolutely meaningless.
Platforms giving like great reach and distribution, and then over time that just ends up going to basically zero.
My view is that if you're a creative on the internet, you don't own your audience.
When you put the relationship between a creator and a fan on a blockchain, there's no middleman that can take it away from you.
We built Bond with creators in mind.
Perfect.
All right.
Cool. So you guys are actually the first brothers we've had on the show. Before we dig into like what you're building and the complexity that comes with building a startup and all the stress, I just kind of wanted to learn about like, what is it like building a startup with your brother?
I'll let you go first, Justin.
I have said many times over in public settings that, Michael's 8 years younger than me, and he is very obviously the smarter brother. So that is undeniable. The fun part about working with your brother is there's a certain element of trust that you otherwise could really never have, I think, with even a best friend when you're working with them on a co-founder level. So I think that's the biggest advantage. I would say the biggest downside is when we disagree on something, we turn on brother mode a little bit. But we don't disagree on too much, it's mostly just macro, like big strategic ideas and stuff. So,
and then really quick question there, is there other people on the team, and how do they react when you guys get into that brother mode when you're like, oh shit, I'm just going to step out, Okay, that's good.
They don't really see it. Yeah. We try to keep it, to us, PG. And, there are times we yell at each other, but it's all in the favor of building the best product possible.
Nice. Michael, what about you? Anything else to add?
Well, one thing I'll clarify about that point is, I mean, and maybe we'll talk about this at some point, which is that, I have a background in investing, and so I've spent a lot of time talking with founders, and sometimes, they'll ask me, as from when I was on the investor side of things, like, how do I, talk about this topic with my co-founder? Like, there's a problem. How do I give them feedback, right? And there's sort of like this, because they're not necessarily brothers with their co-founder, or they're not, in the same family, they're like friends. And so when you're talking to a friend, things have to be said a certain way.
Yeah.
Right. And, but when you're talking to your brother, you can kind of like completely cut through the noise and like,
that's
just,
right.
And the pro of that is that you get to the gist extremely quickly. The con is that sometimes it's very aggressive.
Yeah. Oh, that's cool. I mean, I haven't built anything with any of my family members, but I could imagine it would be like super blunt and to the point. I mean, props to you guys for making it happen. It's awesome.
Yeah, it's been since March, and I mean, we, when Michael joined the team, he already had the idea for this product, and to sort of watch it evolve over the past 7-8 months into what it's become, and now of course that it's been live for 2 weeks. It was really his vision in the first place, just sort of intersecting with my view of the world of creator crypto, which I hold, like my view of the creator crypto world has always been, from when I started messing with Ethereum experiments in 2017, my view is that if you're a creative on the internet, you don't own your audience, you don't own any channels of communication, and blockchains probably fix that problem in the future. When I started messing with Ethereum in 2017. Then during COVID, Michael was not necessarily into crypto yet, but I was sort of experimenting with NFT stuff since 2017. But then during COVID, of course, we saw the first big NFT boom. And that's when Michael got really involved in crypto. Even before he went to Andreessen, we were just sort of locked up at home watching the entire every season of Game of Thrones from the beginning, because neither of us had watched it, and talking about crypto. And that's kind of what we did during COVID, is crypto and Game of Thrones. And maybe a little bit, well, I guess we didn't play video games at that point. We hadn't really got into video games. But there's obviously a lot more games today than there were for us growing up. But we were also, we were 8 years apart. So I was kind of DJing in my 20s while Michael was in high school. And it's not like we weren't close as brothers, but crypto actually brought us closer because we shared a lot of the same beliefs. And, Michael went to go work in traditional finance. I dropped out, but he only lasted, how many weeks at BlackRock? 2?
Technically 4, because after 2, I had to give my 2-week notice. So technically I was there for 4 weeks.
So right out of college, to BlackRock to, to Andreessen, to seeing, thousands of deals across DeFi and creator crypto and NFTs and all the above. And really, through that experience, like we both sort of bring a different experience to the table. I sort of bring entertainment and like existing founder experience. Michael brings like technical and seeing every single idea that everyone else has tried and either failed or succeeded at. And the combination of that experience has been really helpful in building this product, which is really all about, the core principles of why crypto can benefit creators without the speculation. And that's sort of been our dream from the get-go.
Yeah. So Michael, maybe you can share a little bit more about like the inception of where this idea came from and how it works. I think, I've known both of you guys for a little bit. Your backgrounds are super interesting. So the fact that you guys are both creators in your own way also makes it super interesting. You're not just like an outsider building something for an audience that exists. You happen to sort of like be in that audience as well. So
yeah, definitely. Sure. So I think to take a step back, just to reiterate what Justin said, we both spent a lot of time, Justin's a creator in terms of, as a musician. I would say I'm a creator as a developer / magician. So I have a background in magic and, worked for David Blaine for a little bit and performed a lot when I was a little bit younger. And so one thing that I noticed in the early days of the NFT era of crypto was there was a lot of emphasis on secondary royalties for NFTs as like this magical new mechanism for people to earn money on the internet, which if you think about it, like forget about the word NFT, forget about blockchain, forget about crypto for a minute. Like if you just take a step back and think about like, imagine if someone told you could have a good, like a digital good, an item that anytime it was ever sold anywhere on the internet across the globe, the person who created that item got a cut of that sale. And it wouldn't matter if it was sold on eBay or Amazon or any marketplace, there would always be this kickback to the creator, right? And that was like a huge selling point for NFTs. And you don't even have to understand crypto to understand how cool of a concept that really is and was. And what turned out to happen was that it actually was the case that it's really hard to enforce those royalties on a blockchain. And so that led to a lot of issues in sort of like the NFT craze. I mean, there was, of course, there's tons of issues that happened, but that was definitely a key moment when everyone realized, oh, wait a minute, you can very easily circumvent these royalties. And I spent a lot of time at A16Z thinking about this problem of like, how do you solve these royalties? Is it even a good incentive mechanism to begin with? Because creators would use it as a mechanism to, earn from their fan base in perpetuity, right? Like you would create these NFTs, people could trade them, and it didn't matter, at any point in the future when that NFT would be traded, you would earn money from it. And that experience of seeing that firsthand as someone who experimented with NFTs, but also getting to see all the startups and companies and projects that created products around this royalty mechanism, realized that it didn't actually work the way that people thought it did, made me think of this larger vision, which is three things, and there's sort of like these 3 bullet points that lead to why we built Bond. The first is when you put the relationship between a creator and a fan on a blockchain, whatever that is, like even if it was just like following them, like your follower graph that you would normally have on Instagram or Twitter, if you put that on a blockchain, it's just net better than having it anywhere else, for the only reason that it's transparent and there's no middleman that could take it away from you. So if Facebook decided to censor you one day or kick you off the platform, you wouldn't actually lose the relationship with your fans. And that's like a
just to jump in for a quick second on that is like when the TikTok ban was realistic for a quick second, and you had all these TikTok creators worrying about the audience that they've built on that platform, and all of a sudden it could just disappear. That's a problem that blockchains can very uniquely solve. The same is true. This already happened with Vine, right? Vine got shut down, and all those creators lost all the hard work and effort that they put in. So, yes, could any of these existing Web2 platforms just shut it off at any time? Sure, but it's actually also happened already, just not at the scale that make people really feel the pain of not owning your own audience. And I didn't mean to jump in. You can keep
I also
going.
think that anybody who's like been a creator for more than probably like 5 to 7 years, closer to 10 years, has seen these waves of platforms giving like great reach and distribution, and then over time that just ends up going to basically zero. So like I remember building like Facebook pages back in the day to hundreds of thousands of followers, and then reach going to like 0.5% of the audience. If you had 100,000 followers, you reach basically nobody.
Well,
so
and,
I've seen
and
it
I don't know,
firsthand.
How old are you out of
33.
curiosity? You're 33. I'm 34. So when I built my entire initial fan base on Facebook pages.
Yeah, I remember that time.
But at the time, there was actually your feed was all time linear. Yeah. So if you liked someone's Facebook page, you'd see everything they had to say. It just like maybe it was down the list if you had a bunch of Facebook friends that you were seeing stuff from. But when everything was time linear and you saw what you followed, it was just a different world. Today, I have 1 million something likes on my Facebook page. It's absolutely meaningless, right? Yeah. Like all of that effort is all on Facebook. It's already meaningless, right? On Instagram and maybe on X, it's different. The algorithm changes every day, and the participants in all those Web2 ecosystems have zero control or say over what the algorithm does. How many bots are following you, what the engagement looks like. All of these things lack transparency, and this is sort of why we think blockchains can do a lot more for the creative and entertainment realm than just sort of speculative stuff. Yeah. And no one's really cracked this code yet, but with Bond, it's really our best attempt thus far for us as a company, and for Michael as a creator. It's our best sort of attempt at solving something real, and all the new regulation and, specifically all the new, sort of sandboxes that we have to play with on the stablecoin front give us the ability to do stuff in creator crypto that we couldn't do 4 years ago in the first NFT boom. So we have a lot more flexibility, and the tech is better. The infrastructure is better. We've got embedded wallets now. We've got legal stablecoins now. We've got all these tools that we didn't have in 2021 when the first boom happened. And so just to close off this thought, right, we've seen many cycles in crypto. When Ethereum launched, there wasn't a killer use case. Now we've got DeFi, and stablecoins. And, it took a while. I think the NFT boom in 2020, 2021 was really just like the first cycle for creator crypto. And we're going to see many more. We've seen a second cycle, which I guess you could theoretically say is meme coins, right? Like that is a cycle product market fit thing that worked for creatives in some way, shape, or form. But what our dream is as brothers and as creators, because Michael's a magician and I'm a musician, our dream is to sort of see the real use case of blockchains take off for creators. And we think that's going to happen in the next 5 to 10 years, inevitably, whether it's us or someone else. But we really think so.
So basically, to sort of come back for a second, this idea that you could have this relationship transparent on a blockchain such that if, you were deplatformed or you did start to lose reach on Facebook, you could, in theory, right, take that audience to another platform and continue on, right? And this pitch for creator crypto arguably maybe is a little tired. Like from like the early days of creator crypto, like this was like the core pitch for why you want to build on crypto platforms is you get this very resilient relationship. So when we think about it, this is like a table stakes reason, right? This is like obvious. Like everyone's have talked about this for a long time. I think a lot of people in crypto agree this is a really good reason to build on these rails. So this is like, that's reason number one. Reason number two is to actually bring in what Justin sort of ended with, which is this meme coin concept. But really, it applies to NFTs as well, which is that any product that's going to form a relationship between a creator and a fan, we believe should have fans shouldn't be losing money, right? A fan should not lose money. And the reason is because right, exactly. No speculation, no one loses money. And the reason for that is because there's too much financial and reputational risk for the creator to even want to do that, right? So we're all over here in the crypto, universe trying to bring this stuff mainstream, But the reality is that people who have never used crypto before, that might want to use it or might want to leverage some of these really cool tools that we've been talking about, have been afraid to do it to date because all they've seen is just, people losing money,
the bad
things,
news.
the bad stuff,
like celebrities that like
behavior.
create coins or create NFT projects and they don't even know what's going on. Their name gets branded on something, and then all their fans don't know what they're doing, but they buy into it. Like, we don't have to call people out specifically, but it happens. Yeah. It's happened so many, like hundreds of times in the past couple of years.
It's extractive behavior, right? And so the second bullet point then to summarize is whatever it is that we want to build to help bring crypto to mainstream creators so that they can leverage all the cool tools that we want and that we have in the industry, is to have that as almost like a rule, right? Like fans shouldn't lose money. There should be no financial and reputational risk for the creator.
Now, that doesn't mean that money can't be made in certain ways on both sides of the equation. It just can't be at a base level extractive. And so our philosophy in building this product is, how do we create all the benefits that blockchains have promised to creators without the extraction? And that was the real core of the idea for Bond. Before we even started building it, we wanted to keep that true.
Yeah, before we dig into Bond, why hasn't anybody done this successfully in the past? It seems like such an obvious and simple thing. Like, if you put your Web2 hat on, like we're deep into crypto, so we kind of like see things all the time, but you put your Web2 hat on, like it seems like this should have already been done. Is it because there's a lot of other ways to make money and so people just go for the max extract route, or why?
I'll go first with my two reasons, and then Michael probably has two reasons. So I think reason number one is the simple and obvious one, which is that if you've never used crypto before and you're a creator, it's extremely hard to get started. On-ramps are hard. You got to KYC on Coinbase. You got to withdraw money. How do you set up a wallet? How do you secure the wallet? You've heard stories about someone getting hacked, so you don't really want to put too much money in the system because you're not sure. And then finally, like, what if the people that care about you, that are buying tickets to see you perform, or subscribing to your YouTube channel or whatever it might be, what if they lose money and get mad at you? Yeah. Right? Like, there's just too many variables. But the sort of first answer is like, why hasn't this happened yet? I think mainly because the infrastructure tech stack hasn't been friendly enough to a regular person. That's changed a lot in the past 4 years. I think the second reason is a little bit more of a deeper one, which is that a lot of founders, are optimizing for revenue, are optimizing for, making their investors money and making themselves money. And that's not to say that they're not trying to build products that do change the creator economy through crypto, because I think there are many amazing products out there, like Manifold, for instance, which changed it gave creators so much power in how they control their entire NFT world around them, whether that's giving them sovereign creator contracts and stuff like that. So there have been a lot of products out there that have tried to do this in a way that is non-extractive. But I think at some point, a lot of people lean into the speculation because at the end of the day, the company needs to make money, and they don't have as long of a time horizon of a vision that Michael and I have. And I think the reason why we have that time horizon is A, I've been doing crypto stuff for 11 years. So I've seen a lot of stuff. And B, Michael has a very strong ethical compass and really wants to build something that highlights the promises that blockchains have made to the creator economy.
I agree. I mean, the only thing I'd really add there is there's this nuance, and I think everyone can agree that people like to gamble and people like to speculate. It's been like that since the beginning of time. I'm reading a book right now the one just came out called 1929, about the 1929 market crash. And you read it and you I get like chills because I'm like, this is exactly what's going on right now. It's like actually the same thing. And just people just totally forget. And so the nuanced point is if you're in crypto and you're trying to get traction, like Justin said, and you're trying to have a successful company and you add speculation, it's obviously not a guarantee that you'll get usage, but there's you'll probably get usage. And then the nuance is that the people who are speculating or gambling or using your, we'll call it creator crypto product, that is not the same person as a true fan. Sometimes they
Mercenary
might overlap.
versus missionary.
Right. There might be a case where they will overlap, but I think that if someone is, in your, we'll call it creator community, or supporting you as a creator through a speculative asset like a meme coin, they're there for one reason. They're there so that you make the meme coin go up in price, right? They're not actually there to see you grow long term, right? And so this distinction brings back to another critical point, which is that the mechanisms that have been tried to date have the relationship for that the creator earns more money as trading volume increases, whether that's an NFT, whether that's a meme coin. As there is more speculation, as there is more trading volume, the creator earns fees on that and they make more money, which is to say that like you might have 10,000 people actively trading your thing, and that has zero tie to your success as a creator. What it should be, what I would love to see, and what has inspired us to create Bond, which I know we haven't even talked about yet, and this is maybe a good time to start doing that, is the creator should earn money as their audience grows, not as trading volume grows, right? So every creator wants a bigger audience, right? Like, Ish, you're a creator too. Like, you want more people to listen to this podcast. You want to grow your following. You want to grow your reach, right? And guess what? As you are successful in doing that, you should earn more money, right? That makes sense, right? Versus having 1,000 people that just like trade something doesn't really have any tie to your success. And so maybe this is actually a good time to explain what Bond is, which is one. It's actually a really good way to explain Bond is to actually first talk about like other Web2 platforms like Patreon or Substack or other like creator platforms, where the essential, through line across all of them is you're going to pay somebody $5 a month to get exclusive, right? A subscription to get exclusive access to something they want to offer. Maybe it's a blog post, maybe it's tickets, maybe it's music, exclusive tracks, backstage passes, early access, whatever it might be, right? We've seen tons of these platforms. And so you as a user are paying them $5 a month. With Bond, the difference is instead of you paying a creator $5 a month to get access to whatever it is they want to offer you, you're going to pay $5 one time to get access. But here's the catch. You as a user can get a refund and get your $5 back whenever you want. That's because that $5 is not actually being paid to the creator. Instead, the creator is earning interest on your $5 as long as you are bonded to them. And so you're going to bond $5 one time, or $10 or $100. We'll talk about the difference in a second. We'll just stick with the $5 example for a minute. $5 one time, you get access to whatever exclusive content the creator wants to offer you. As long as you're bonded to them, as long as your $5 is bonded to a creator, they're earning interest on your $5. The creator keeps the interest. You keep your $5. And that's the core mechanism behind Bond.
How do you incentivize creators to provide value or provide, a reason for people to bond to them? Like if somebody's bonding $5, you get 5 people to bond $5, you have $25 bonded per month, you're earning pennies of a yield or interest a month. Like, are you trying to incentivize creators to like do more for their audiences or for their fans? Or are you kind of leaving it up to them, or, so it works really good at scale, right? So
yeah, that's a really good question. And, the thing that people like regular consumers outside of crypto aren't as familiar with is this idea of an instant refund, right? Like if you buy something on Amazon and you return it, you're waiting for that credit to hit your credit card statement. Right. With stablecoins, you have all these instantaneous interactions that happen on chain that are really quick. And so, Ish, I just bonded $500 to you. I've listened to a couple of your podcast episodes. I think you're great. I'm at the top of your leaderboard now. Yeah. If you were running a subscription service and I was paying you, let's call it $50 a month, which is high, but like let's just say I'm paying you $50 a month. Over the course of the year, that's $600. Right now, you have the pressure to give me content consistently to keep me subscribed. Otherwise, I'm going to unsubscribe. how many times are you unsubscribing from things or people that you don't care about? Like, usually it's not even people. A lot of the time we ask how many people are subscribed to another creator versus like Netflix or Hulu, which yes, a lot of people have those types of subscriptions, but most people don't do it. When you know that it costs you nothing to signal to the world that you care about this other person, the way I care about you, and I think your content's great. We've known each other for a while. I follow you on Twitter. You always have great things to say. Now the $500 that I just bonded to you is a signal that I think you're cool, right? And it doesn't really cost me anything. It's just a way of me showing the world that I want a stronger relationship with you. I want a bond. There's no way to do that in Web2 or on the internet today.
Yeah, I think that's the reason why I'm digging into it, is like it's going to break a lot of people's brains, especially if they're not in crypto, especially if they're like set in the ways of a Web2 creator economy, where it's like, I pay a subscription, you have to give me guides or access or coaching or mentorship or whatever in return for that product or whatever that I'm buying, the service that I'm buying. So like it broke my brain a little bit, and I'm kind of deep in this stuff, so I can imagine it breaks people's brains if they're like, wait, I can get this back,
There's less pressure on both sides. It's not just the user. So there's less pressure on the user because it doesn't really cost them anything, and there's less pressure on the creator. Plus, you have this signaling component that you can't get out of a follow or a subscription. The closest thing to bond in the Web2 world today is when you follow someone important. Like for me, I had a moment when, like a couple of years ago, Sam Altman followed me back on Twitter. I'm like, oh shit. Now, whenever anybody goes to my Twitter profile, they can see I'm followed by, and then Sam's probably going to be the first person that pops up.
High signal.
And then someone's like, oh, this guy's legit because he's followed by Sam Altman. What Bond does is it sort of takes that and expands it out into a sort of exponential idea of signaling where, yes, there might be a bunch of small fans that can't afford more than $1 or $5, but at least they're not a bot, right? At least they're not a random Instagram account with 12 million followers that you don't even know how much of that's real, right? And so what Bond is it's sort of beginning to play with the idea of putting money where your mouth is, right? Which is something that we've lost a little bit of in the social media era of algorithms and stuff. So with Bond, right, the core idea is let's build the mechanism first. And then just as you said, your question was, how do you get creators to come and actually engage with the product? We don't know what types of creators are going to use it for different types of things. We just have to get it out there. And, we've already had so many people come to us with ideas that we never could have known on our own, whether it's a podcaster with an idea or somebody that wants to do courses, right? And for courses, let's say, right, like people are probably a lot more reluctant to pay $20 a month than they would be to just put $100 in. So like you said, if it's $5 or $1, maybe that works for Taylor Swift fans. And then of course, she's making a significant amount in interest, but it works on the other side where like if someone's really wealthy and they want to be recognized by that favorite creator, they could put in a lot more money. Or we also have something called the Bond score that Michael invented, which is a function of both money and time. So you don't just have to be rich to get recognized. If you were there first,
early,
it's all on chain. It's all on chain, right?
And everybody can relate to this, right? Because it's like, your favorite musician, you're like, oh, I was listening to them back when they had like no subscribers, or like when they were still like touring like these little shows. And so it makes you more proud as like a follower, as like a fan, right?
And you can't necessarily prove it today, but you can with Bond, right? So like if you were, let's say there's a new musician, like let's call it Fred again, right? Fred again's this phenomena who's been making music for a really long time. He's very active. He has a Discord that he's very active in. I joined the Discord, and a lot of his fans were like, oh shit, Blau's here. This is crazy, right? But that's all controlled by Discord. Yeah. You can't like, Discord could go, anything could happen, and all of a sudden that audience is gone. And so what we believe is that as stablecoins become more of a regular sort of behavior, exchanging via stablecoin versus credit card versus other things, as people familiarize themselves with it, Bond will just make a lot more sense. Today, it's probably going to make a lot of sense to crypto natives who've messed with crypto products before. But there's one other thing I want to mention, and then I'm sure Michael Blau, you have something to say on this. But like, one thing we didn't know when we launched the product is how people would feel after they bond. But what we learned was like, we send out an email to you if you're a creator when someone's bonded to you. And the other morning I woke up and I had like 50 new people that put $1 on me, and it makes you feel something. It's like they're committed to you in a way that a follow or an engagement on Instagram makes me feel basically nothing, right? Like when I open up my notifications, I don't know who's real, who's a bot, who actually wants to talk to me, who was impacted by a moment in my music. The same way for you, Ish, it would be like maybe there's a one-liner in a podcast that really resonated with someone. They get to tell you that now because you're probably going to pay attention if they bond $100 or $50 or even $5 is significant, right?
Yep.
And so we don't know exactly where it goes, but it's definitely this email thing has been really interesting to us because both Michael and I, when people have bonded to us, we felt something different. And there's no way to describe it until you try it.
So actually this is a great, I'll sort of talk about this for a minute, because you asked before, Ish, like, what would creators want to offer people who bonded to them, right? It's like a huge question that we've gotten that too. Like what would I offer? And I think what we've realized is the fact that like you can offer them exclusive content is almost like a secondary cherry on top to a little bit more of a primitive social thing that's going on that we've noticed, which is really powerful, which is that, when I wake up in the morning and I see that, a previous colleague from A16Z, I'll call her out, Jane, bonded $1,000 to me, I felt amazing. Not because I didn't get $1,000 from her. She didn't give me $1,000, right? I'm going to earn interest on the $1,000, sure. But the fact that Jane, someone that I've worked with in the past, put that amount of money bonded to me is like this sign of belief in me. And the first thing I did, like the immediate reaction that I had was to text her, I love you, right? Like, thank you so much. And she responded, of course, I believe in you and I believe in what you're doing. And I felt amazing as a creator, and she, got recognition from me. And so one thing that we've been thinking about as we've developed this product is it's not so as like, if you're a creator who might want to try out Bond, I wouldn't think about it as like, should I use Patreon or Bond? Or should I use Substack or Bond? Should I use Twitch or YouTube or Bond, right? I would think of it as you already are using these creator platforms for, whatever it is that you're making, and Bond. Use it as another layer to incorporate into your existing stack. Because like, Ish, I'm lucky that I got to work with you and spend a lot of time with you at A16Z. But if I didn't know you and I was a fan of your podcast and I wanted to talk to you, I wanted to get a way to get your attention. If I bonded $500 to $1,000 or even $10 on you, you would get this email. You would feel good. And I know you would feel good because I'm telling you right now, we've received these emails. It feels really good, right? And then if you responded to that email, like, thanks, Michael, let me know if you have any recommendations of people we should bring on the podcast, I would feel great as a fan because you recognized me. And now, all of a sudden, we have this economic relationship on chain that's kind of light, right? In the sense that, like, I can always I can withdraw my money, right? I'm not, like, paying you something. You're not selling me anything. But also now, in the future, if you decide, you know what, I want to, do a live podcasting show, or I want to sell merch, and I want to be able to sell merch to my audience, but high intent, like a high intent list of audience members, people who've bonded money to you. It's almost like a guaranteed, high intent list of your audience that are going to respond. They're going to buy your merch. They're going to interact with you. They've already committed, to be in your community. And so this is all to say, and it's kind of hard to articulate because it's just some new thought thinking that we're having and brainstorming on, but taking Bond and bringing it into where you already have distribution for your fan base, and using it as just like another layer to find out who in your audience has, like, believes in you the most and is the most, like, what's the, I gotta, like, find it. I have, like, written in my notes because I want to say it.
While you find it, there's sort of two things that I just wanted to add on top of that is, I feel uncomfortable asking my fans to subscribe to me, but I feel no discomfort in telling them that they should bond. It's a lot lower stakes.
Yeah. Also, like, the point that Michael just made resonates a lot with me because I have a lot of friends that have massive audiences, like millions and millions of followers, like crazy big on TikTok and Instagram. And they tell me, like, it's really difficult for me to differentiate the DMs because I get hundreds of DMs a day. Who is like a real fan? Who just needs me, and who's like trying to use me? Who is like trying to get something out of me, like a shout out or promotion or whatever? And the current models, the current tools that they have don't work great. Like what they do end up doing is like, oh, sign up for my Patreon, pay $20 a month, and then from there, the thousands of people that sign up, I will then pick some people or do an AMA so you can get FaceTime with me. But even then, it's not great because, and it doesn't feel great for them because they're basically like asking people to pay for their attention or time, and when they're already super fans,
And the other
Wait,
thing,
let me just say real quick. I just want to put it's like one sentence. I'll read it and I'll let you continue. Which is, I just had it in my notes and I just want to read it exactly. It says like, Bond is a verified, durable audience list tied to real humans with real intent. Is a good way to think about it.
Which online, it's almost impossible to know who's a bot and who's not these days, and that will continue to grow as a problem. The only other thing I wanted to add, and I'll be quick on this thought, is we built Bond with creators in mind. It started out, actually as for musicians, because I'm a musician. We learned really quickly that a lot of other types of creators could use this. But where I really see it going is, whether you're like, every human is a creator in some way, shape, or form. And whether like that's through their occupation or through their hobby, whatever it might be, you can sort of imagine a world where it's not just a fan creator relationship for Bond, but it's actually a social thing where if there's somebody out there that you're really close with, you bond $5,000 to them, they bond $5,000 to you. Now the world knows that you both care about each other in a way that is more significant than a follow. And then you actually both earn the interest on each other's money. Right. And so you start to, we're just learning what behaviors will become popular. The whole core of Bond was building this unique mechanism that hasn't previously existed and would be impossible to build in Web 2. Very important. We asked ChatGPT how we would do it without stablecoins.
Yeah.
And it basically said, you can, but it would be really hard. And so taking advantage of this new sort of infrastructure that we have in crypto, we don't know what types of behaviors are going to happen on Bond, but as a team, our goal is to lean into all the things that are working. And so just having this out there, and we're hopefully going to have an even easier on-ramp for the mainstream in a couple of weeks so that they don't even have to think about the crypto component. It's still a little bit crypto-y today for somebody that doesn't know it, but in 2 to 3 weeks, you're probably not going to have to know a thing about crypto to have a safe and secure bond with someone you care about. And as we grow, we're going to see what people on the platform want. And there might be a day where everyone has a creator page, whether you're a known creator or not. And we just don't know yet. So, it's pretty early in the adventure, but we've gotten a lot of great feedback so far.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, another thing that maybe a lot of few people don't get is when you say yield or interest, they're thinking, oh, I get 0.5% on, whatever the money that I'm putting in, or the person's getting 0.5%. Where I think it's also important to differentiate, like, the yield that people can get in crypto because the middleman is cut out. So it's significantly higher. And so, once this starts to achieve some sort of scale, like the returns can be like pretty high. So maybe either of you can speak to, what the numbers could actually look like when you start achieving scale, in case there's like a big creator listening.
Sure. So I think today, and we can kind of maybe go a layer into the tech for a second, which is the way that the interest is earned today is all of the bonded money goes into over collateralized Bitcoin backed loans on another protocol called Morpho. And the interest rate that you will earn from that on Morpho fluctuates. It's variable, changes every day, but typically it's between 4 and 6%. And that is also going to be impacted by general market conditions, right? On the globe, around the globe, right? So it's not just in crypto. This is, you're impacted by the entire economy and financial markets, but that's the typical range. Our goal is, that's how we started, right? This is like the MVP. Eventually, though, we want to be able to allow the creator to plug in any yield source. So, for example, while today you might be using, over collateralized Bitcoin backed loans, maybe you just want to put bonded money into United States Treasury bills, right? Which some might think is more secure. Some others could argue they're not as secure, right? Depends on who you're talking to. And so over time, we hope to like create almost like a menu where the creator can choose what they find is the best. That being said, though, I don't think we're like encouraging creators to do like super risky stuff with, bonded money, because obviously, the fact that you're earning interest here is a really nice cherry on top.
Mhm.
And I think if you do the math, it's maybe about like if someone was paying you like $5 a month in a subscription versus like paying you $5 one time and you're earning interest on it via bond, via like you need like 20 times as many people to do that to like equate to like the same amount of money. That being said,
Which is not that crazy if you think about it, because then it's all risk free on their part. So like me as a
Well,
creator, I would, yeah, go ahead.
No. Sorry, you finish your thought, Ish, and then I'll tell you a crazy statistic. I actually want you to guess the statistic.
Yeah, because I remember like for a brief period, this is years ago, I like did Patreon, and like I got, I don't know, maybe like a bunch of people like were paying, and then I was like, shit, well, how do I keep providing value to them? And I started to feel kind of crappy. I was like, do I just give these people money back if they don't feel like they're getting enough, value for their $5 or $10 or whatever I was charging a month, versus if I put it I have like a very more of like a growth hacker mindset. If I put it in my brain where I have to like get 20 times the amount of people to pay, and knowing that they can pull their money out at any point in time, and I can sleep fine at night without feeling super stressed out, then that is a good trade-off for me.
and here's wait, Justin, before you say your stat, I want to interject with one other stat, which is because of the mechanism, our bet is that more people are going to be willing to bond $5 one time to someone than they are to bond $5 or pay $5 a month in a subscription.
Yeah.
And you can actually see, this is crazy. I follow some people on Instagram that have 250,000 followers, so 250,000 followers, and you can see how many people subscribe to them on Instagram.
Yeah.
And there's this one creator I follow who has 250,000 followers just for free, right? Just following them, but only 250 people that subscribe $5 a month to her.
It was like 1%.
Look at that gap. That's
crazy.
a huge gap, right? And I think that's the gap we can fill with bond. But Justin,
so Ish, I this is just a fun thought experiment. Take a wild guess how much money is sitting around in non-interest bearing accounts for U.S. households.
Like the average U.S. household?
Sorry, like the total amount of money that's just sitting around not earning interest for U.S. households. Just take a guess.
Dude, I have no idea. I'm really bad. It's like
no, it's I think it's good. I think the answer is going to be surprising, but
I would say I can only like try to picture like the average. For the average person, it would probably be like less than $5,000, so maybe like $2,500.
Oh, sorry, I meant like the total amount of money that's just sitting around in people's checking accounts.
Dude, I'm gonna say like $500 million, which is definitely not right.
No, it's okay. It's actually $6 trillion. So
that's just
there's
people
$6 trillion
money like sitting around in a savings account, a checking account, or maybe just even at
in
home
a non-interest bearing capacity. You know, U.S. households have about $5.7 trillion in non-interest bearing accounts. So now imagine like you take that bucket and you spread it across all the things that you care about and the people that you care about. Obviously, we're far away from that, but we've seen a couple of Web 2 applications that have sort of capitalized on this idea that have already worked. One that's really interesting that's not related to Patreon or fan club style stuff is this app called Acorn, where you round up to invest in the stock market every time you buy something.
I've used Acorns. It's awesome. Yeah.
It's a really, really cool idea. And it's a way to get people out of that mindset. You know, why did we all get into crypto? Because we all know that banks take advantage, right? Banks are using your money to earn more money and not really paying you for it. When you think about how big that whole bucket is, and you think about how every human being has a connection to something creatively or another human, this idea could be massive, right? Like if we can actually instill this new type of behavior. And so when I give people that stat, most of the time they guess in the billions. They don't guess in the trillions. So, either way, obviously we have a lot of work to do before that happens. But you could sort of imagine bond to extend even beyond creators. It could be membership to a club. Like you could, and then the interest proceeds can be used through events. Like there's an infinite, you could have medical debt, and instead of starting a GoFundMe, people could just, bond money to you so that you can pay off your medical debt from a cancer treatment or something along those lines, right? So the potential of the mechanism is kind of endless. Any idea you can think about where interest can play a role in helping someone or proving that you care about someone is something that we're interested in at Bond, right? Okay. But starting with creators, the way TikTok starts with creators, the way that a lot of platforms start with creators, is just a really easy way to get early data and feedback.
Yep. Next, I kind of want to dig into like the business side of building Bond. So like, how are you guys acquiring users? I know you said you just launched 2 weeks ago. Do you feel like it's an uphill battle when trying to pitch people who are not super crypto native? Justin, I know you're really plugged with a bunch of musicians and stuff. So, just is having an audience helpful, or like the relationship's already established?
It's not an uphill. Once people try it, well, we've had 100% hit rate. Getting them, it's one of those things where
if you just read about it, 100% hit rate in terms of creators agreeing to do it, right? So
correct. Yeah. But because they know that there's not reputational risk and all the other things, like launch a meme coin, launch an NFT, or just make a bond profile, right? Like it's very low risk. That said, the concept itself is hard for somebody to wrap their head around who hasn't experimented with crypto before. And so our goal and our strategy has been just one by one, having these conversations, sharing the stories, getting people to feel something when you're bonded to, or you bond to someone. And like I bonded $500 to while we were on this podcast, right? And hopefully it makes you feel good, right? And one by one is the strategy that always seems to work best when you're working on something new. That's a net new idea. And this is how Coinbase sort of won the market back in the day. Is they started out as just a crypto wallet. They learned that their users just didn't even know how to buy Bitcoin. They had some Bitcoin they got from somewhere, but they wanted to buy more. And that is what led to them building an exchange, because their users were just using the wallet and needed the ability to buy Bitcoin, right? And so we're sort of at that stage in Bond where we built this protocol. Now we want to see what people would be willing to use it for and what creative ideas they come up with, because there's no way that we as a small team are going to be able to do that for every single creator out there. So one by one, we're preaching our gospel in non-extractive creator crypto stuff. We really believe over the next 10 years, we're going to see it work in some way. And, our collective experience, Michael as both a creator and an investor at Andreessen, me as a musician professionally for 15 years, we hope people trust us in building this thing and giving it a try.
Nice. You have 300,000 followers on Instagram. I'm sure you have a bunch of followers everywhere. How do you pitch this to a general audience? Are you pitching it to them, or are you?
Well, it's a really good question. I'm actually about to do something probably right after this call. My favorite stat outside of the, money lying around, not earning interest stat, I've gotten close to 6 billion streams. At the end of the year, Spotify reaches out to all of its creators and says, what do you want to say to the top 1% of your listeners? I don't know who they are. Spotify controls that data. But every year, you record a video saying, thank you for listening to my music. Oh my God. And all the people on the other end, they're in your top 1% of listeners. They probably really give a shit about you.
They're playing a song on repeat, over and over and over, or
Right. Whoever they might be. And so this year, on my video, I'm going to say, thank you for being my 1%. If you want to talk to me, here's how you do it. Go to Bond.
That's awesome.
Because there's no other, the likelihood of conversion to that group is probably high.
Yep.
Right.
Well, that's the group that you want, that you ideally want to, have use the platform as a fan.
But today, I can't talk to any of those people. I don't even know them.
Yeah, that's wild to think about.
And so, I've sold over 1 million tickets in my life. I've sold, we've had over 6 billion streams, and I literally have no data on any of those people. And that's a problem.
Nice. So what would be your final one-liner for somebody who's maybe Web 2.5? They've used crypto in the past. They're not afraid of it, but they're just kind of curious and don't really know what to use different use cases. And they're, a creator in the sense that they've used these Patreon and other Web 2 platforms. If you had to speak to that audience, what would you say to them? Why use Bond, or why consider it?
I would say what I said before is that Bond is the best way on the internet today to get a verified audience list that is tied to real humans with real intent of people who care about you. And if that's something that you want, you should try out Bond.
Yeah. Thank you guys for the time. It's been cool seeing both of you, both in your career as a musician and, working with you at A16Z Crypto, to now building this and being in the trenches for reals. So it's been cool. I'm excited to be like the user of the platform. I'm happy to test out, any initial features or things that you guys are like pushing out to a small set of users, and provide brutal but honest feedback. Cool, guys. Thank you for the time. Appreciate it.